In 2021, Dublin City Council launched the E-Cargobikes for Businesses pilot, encouraging greener, more sustainable deliveries.
Working with our Micromobility partner Bleeper, over 20 Dublin businesses signed up to test an E-Cargobike at a discounted rate for a 6-month trial.
Charlie's is a family restaurant business here in the heart of the city. We signed up to the pilot because we wanted to try out an E-Cargobike, but we didn't know a huge amount about them and we weren't sure if it was right for us. Our experience has been really positive. You can spin around the city without worrying about the usual traffic. It's great.
Camarino Bakery delivers freshly baked goods all over the city every morning. Taking part in this pilot project was great for us. We were able to test out the bike and see if it suited our needs without a major financial commitment. It's been great. It's really efficient and it's nice to know you're doing your bit for the environment too.
Burns Life Pharmacy here in Ballsbridge. I've been delivering in this area for the past 30 years, but unfortunately, given the bulk of some of the items I deliver, I often have to do it in the car. With my new E-Cargobike, I can do multiple deliveries in this area with large bulk and volumes. It's faster, more efficient, much better for the environment, and it's much more enjoyable for me. I would highly recommend an E-Cargobike as an ideal mode of transport for any business looking to deliver in this area.
At Philip Lee, we are committed to reducing our carbon footprint. And this project was a different and kind of creative way for us to show the real benefits of cycling. We've used the E-Cargobike to bring folders and files right across the city to the forecourts. And the large capacity at the front has been really great for us. And by cutting down on car and taxi journeys, we now have a healthier, a greener and a faster way sometimes of making those same journeys.
The use of E-Cargobikes for city deliveries is just one of the many ways we can help build a greener, more sustainable Dublin.
A huge thank you to everyone who has taken part in this pilot.
Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed our video there. That was just us showcasing some of our pilots and our participants from our E-Cargobike for Business pilot project that we've started here in Dublin City Council in 2021, and it's still ongoing today. So first up, I'd like to introduce our Lord Mayor, our Alison Gilliland, who is the first person of our city and the only person that I know who loves to wear high heels while cycling, whether it's cargo bikes or regular bikes. You're very welcome, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm probably only the first person that ever jackknifed a cargo bike as well. So I love the video and it's absolutely fabulous to promote this amazing project. And I'm really delighted to be here with everyone at the webinar. And it is aimed at showcasing Dublin City Council's E-Cargobike for Businesses pilot project. It's part of National Bike Week and a week-long celebration and promotion of the benefits of cycling. As you've seen in the video, back in 2021, working with Micromobility partner Bleeper, we in Dublin City Council launched this pilot project basically to encourage a greener, more sustainable delivery system in the city. The pilot was based on the great work done by our neighbours down in Dunleary Rathdown Council last year, and we're delighted to have had over 20 Dublin City businesses participate in the pilot to date. We all know in order to meet the challenges of the climate crisis, we need to explore new and innovative ways of working. And Dublin City Council has an exciting and ambitious, very ambitious climate action plan. And 2 targets I'd like to read out to you. To make Dublin a climate resilient region by reducing the impacts of future and indeed current climate change related events, and to actively engage and inform citizens on climate change. And this project demonstrates just one of the many real tangible actions that we can take to help achieve these ambitions. Today, you're going to hear from Dublin City Council's Micromobility team who lead this project, and they're going to discuss their work to support sustainable transport in the city. You'll hear from Bleeper themselves on their work as a local company working to make cargo bikes part of everyday life in Dublin. And most importantly, you'll hear directly from the companies who've participated in this project and who have made a leap of faith in some cases to cargo bike deliveries. Once again, thanks very much for coming today. I hope you enjoyed the session. As I said, it is part of a wider programme of wonderful events taking place this week for Bike Week. But do remember, as we go about our daily lives, every week is a Bike Week. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much, Lord Mayor. That was excellent. I love that every week is a bike week because that's what it really should be. Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start my presentation now. So just let me share my screen. We'll get it going. Can you all see my screen? Yeah. Great. So this is a photo of myself and Hugh Cooney from Bleeper. And at this, we were at a photo shoot for the launch of our partnership for E-Cargobike for Business pilot project. We were building on the good work that Bleeper and Dunleary Rathdown had carried out earlier that year, and we tweaked the project parameters to suit the business community of Dublin City Council. We look very professional in this picture, as you can see. We were very excited about the project and hoping for success. So let me tell you more about it then. So firstly, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jennifer McGrath and I am head of Micromobility here in Dublin City Council. I started my role here about a year ago, and this was my first micromobility project working with our partner Bleeper. Here in the Micromobility unit, we are responsible for coordinating and supporting micromobility initiatives. Our mission is to increase active travel amongst all of our citizens, businesses and visitors to Dublin City through the offering of affordable, attractive and readily available transport opportunities. The Micromobility unit is successfully working towards achieving Dublin City Council's corporate goals, supporting inclusion and offering realistic alternative travel options, particularly focused on walking and cycling. You may wonder, what exactly is micromobility? And here in Dublin City Council, we refer to it as any small or lightweight device, such as bicycles, e-bikes, cargo bikes, including regular cargo bikes, scooters and e-scooters. It can be human or electric powered, privately owned or shared, and commonly low speed, with the top speed of about 25 kilometers per hour. You may ask, why consider micromobility? And this is a good question. And the reason is simply for the benefits, the personal benefits through health and well-being, and the other benefits to many. Micromobility is an efficient, low carbon transportation option that has become an attractive alternative to private vehicles for short trips. And why is this? It reduces congestion on our roads, reduced emissions and noise pollution, improving first and last mile travel, improving air and noise quality, and the health and well-being of all of our citizens. The key considerations we have in Dublin City Council is safety of our vulnerable road users, the users and the travel speed, and the street clutter that we have witnessed in other European cities. Access to micromobility travel options should be equitable, inclusive, and affordable to all of our citizens, and prioritising of active travel where suitable. The Micromobility unit has 5 objectives. Our first one is to promote active travel, promote healthy living choices for all journeys, for leisure, work and school, breaking barriers and galvanising change. We aim to support the shift from vehicles to walking and cycling, reducing inequalities and promoting social cohesion, providing access to services, leisure activities, school and work, including children, older people, people with disabilities and people on low incomes, improve air quality and reduce pollution. And our final objective is community ownership. We wish to engage communities in the development, management and promotion of active travel networks. And actually I just skipped a slide there. So that's my slide that I was talking about. So what do we do here in Micromobility? The Now Dublin Bike Scheme is a project managed by us in partnership with JC Deco, who manage the day-to-day operations of the scheme on behalf of the council. There are over 1,500 bikes in this bike sharing scheme and over 100 stations. Now Dublin Bikes will be offering a one-day ticket for the summer months for the first time since the scheme began, and we are hopeful that this will show citizens the usefulness of the scheme for short journeys and allow visitors to get around our city to see all the sites, as well as the Bleeper and Moby bikes that are on offer. We also have car clubs that we manage here. Although not classed as a micro mode of mobility, the sustainable car sharing clubs, licensed and permitted by Dublin City Council since January 2022, are now a function of the Micromobility unit. There are 3 car sharing operators, Go Car, UCO and Enterprise, and together they offer over 400 vehicles on street shared cars, providing people with an alternative to private vehicle ownership. Another project of the Micromobility unit is run through the, sorry, that's the wrong one. Cycling for Everyone is a Dublin City Council interdepartmental project in collaboration with the Bike Hub and Cycling Without Age. The Bike Hub Crumlin pilot project is coming soon. This project is based on the Dunleary-Rathdown County Council model that operates out of the harbour at the moment. The Bike Hub Crumlin have many services that they plan to offer and make available to the community of Crumlin and the wider community, including people with disabilities. These services include a fleet of accessible bikes, which can be accessed for free through a booking system. The fleet will include a trishaw, a large adult trike, a small adult trike, and will expand to include a tandem and an e-trike. An accessible booking system will be on offer. Upcyclers, which is the upcycling of donated bikes to provide to refugee organisations and deaf schools. Bike maintenance and safe cycling workshops for TY students, community bike repairs, cycling clubs, and many more. This is an exciting project, and the local St. John of God's Day Centre have told us that their service users are excited and they plan to use the accessible fleet as often as they can once we're up and running. So that's a really exciting project that we have going. And finally, the E-Cargobike for Business pilot project was launched with our partners Bleeper and the NTA in the autumn of 2021. The core purpose of the project was to promote and support last mile delivery through the reduction of car journeys, offering low risk and low cost opportunities to small and medium-sized businesses within the functional area of Dublin City Council. We started out in September offering 20 opportunities to businesses to participate, and due to the popularity and demand of the scheme, the opportunities have risen to 30 for a duration of up to 6 months. As part of the offer, the bikes are branded with the participants' business names and logos and information on how to gain access to the scheme. Kieran from Bleeper will soon speak to us about the uptake of the project and the businesses that have participated. We have food and beverage businesses, as well as florists, law firms and pharmacies. What a mix. Showing that there is another way than motorised vehicles to make deliveries within our cities. So finally, I'd like to say thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope that you have an understanding of some of the things that we do in the Micromobility unit. And should you wish to contact me, you can contact me there on micromobility@dublincity.ie. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys. So Kieran, you're up next. And Kieran Ryan is the marketing manager with Bleeper, and they are our partners in this project. And I'll hand over to you now, Kieran. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'll just start sharing my screen. That's shown up there, all right? Okay, so I'll just do a brief introduction to Bleeper, and then I'll speak more specifically about the Cargobike project that we're involved in. So Bleeper is a bike sharing company. We were founded in 2017 by our CEO, Hugh Cooney. We were Ireland's first stationless bike sharing scheme. So that means that unlike the now Dublin bikes, you don't have to park a Bleeper bike in a physical station. You can just lock it to any public cycle parking stand around the city. We have a fleet of over 800 bikes operating across Dublin City, Fingal and Dunleary-Rathdown County Council. Last year, we reached the milestone of over 100,000 registered accounts. So that was in August of 2021. And our bikes average around 2,000 rides a day in 2020 and 2021. So that's 2,000 daily rides across the entire fleet. This is Bleeper's operating zone. It's actually a little bit larger than what's shown on the map there. We've expanded it further north into parts of Fingal, and there's a few other spots in Dunleer down as well. So it's over 100 kilometres squared, and it operates across the three city councils, or the city and county councils. This is a heat map showing some of the more popular routes that Bleeper bikes take. So we have smart locks on the Bleeper bikes, and from that we can generate data about where the bikes are traveling to and from and what the more popular routes are. So this is an example of the kind of data that we can generate through the smart locks on the bikes. So in early 2021, Bleeper started looking at cargo bikes, and around that time, Dunleer Down County Council were also looking at cargo bikes. So as a result of that, we started collaborating with them on a pilot program to get more businesses using cargo bikes for daily journeys. So we've actually engaged in 3 separate cargo bike pilot schemes with Dunleer Down County Council initially in 2021. So that project ran from May to October 2021. With Dublin City Council, we launched the current cargo bike pilot project in September of 2021. And then in December 2021, Fingal County Council also launched a new cargo bike project for businesses. So we'll speak more specifically about the Dublin City Council cargo bike project. So it was launched in September 2021. We have had over 20 businesses participate in the scheme and are on board so far. We've had a diverse mix of businesses and business cases, and we'll get into that in more detail later as well. And there's been very strong public interest in the scheme as well. And that's part of the reason why we decided to do a webinar to share a bit more information with people publicly about what's going on with the project. So to give you a very short overview of how the project works, basically a business applies to participate in the scheme via an online form on Bleeper's website. That application is then assessed by Bleeper and Dublin City Council Micromobility team. And then once the application is approved, the business chooses the cargo bike model that suits them, and we engage with them, Bleeper, to design the bespoke branding for the cargo bike. And the cost of the scheme is it's €289 per month to hire the bike, but that fee is subsidised by Dublin City Council, so the business themselves pay €100 and the balance is paid by Dublin City Council, so it's roughly a 60% discount to the business. I'll go into some detail here on the type of cargo bikes that are used as part of the scheme. So all of our cargo bikes in the scheme are electric assist cargo bikes, so they all have electric motors and batteries on them. So this is the most popular cargo bike that we have as part of the scheme. This is the Rally Pro cargo bike. So you can see there, it's got a lid on it with a lockable handle, so it's safe and secure and weatherproof for whatever you're bringing around the city. 250 watt motor, which means that it kind of maxes out at 25 kilometers per hour. And this cargo bike has a range of roughly about 60 kilometers would be the maximum range on it. And as you can see with the branding there, you can brand the lid and the side of it with whatever your company branding is. So it's quite a good way of getting your brand and your logo out there across the city. It catches people's eyes as they travel around the place. This is another Rally cargo. This is a Rally cargo tricycle, a three-wheeler. So this is quite a big beast. It's got a 900-litre cargo box compared to the previous one. This is a 350-litre capacity. So 900 litres, it's like a small van, really. It's got the lockable lid. It has the same maximum speed, and there's a slightly larger range because there's a bigger battery inside it. So it's got a 70-kilometre range on average. And then this is the third and final of the main 3 models that we're using in this scheme. So this is the Cube Cargo Hybrid. So it's got a slightly smaller box. It's a 200-litre capacity. It has an open top, so there is an optional rain cover that can be put onto this to make it weatherproof, but it doesn't have the same lockable lid as the Rally Pro Cargo. Again, it's a 25 kilometer per hour maximum speed, and it has a 60-kilometer range, but this particular bike has an optional second battery that can be put in to basically double the range of the bike if that's necessary for the particular user. So like I said, we've had over 20 businesses sign up to the project since last September, And it's been a really diverse range of businesses and business uses. And as you can see there, each of the cargo bikes is bespoke, branded to the particular business using it. And we kind of take the bike is basically delivered ready to go with the branding and everything on it, so that the business doesn't have to worry about doing any of that stuff. Once they've received the cargo bike, it's good to go on delivery. So that's basically it from Bleeper for the overview of what's involved from our side of things. There's a Q&A and a chat box at the bottom as well, so feel free to put any questions you have there in that, and I'll answer them as best I can at the end of the webinar. And I think next we're going to go over to some of the participants from the scheme. So we have Karina from Camerino Bakery is coming up next, and we'll also have Paddy from Burns Pharmacy, and also Lauren from D8 Development and Flower Pop. So working with this. Okay, so I'll hand back over to Jennifer now, and she's going to chat away.
Thanks, Karen. Karina, I thought we'd lost you there for a second. I was getting worried. I couldn't see it on my screen. That was great. Karen, thanks for running through that. I was just, one of the things that just dawned on me there was what you said, was that it's a 60% discount of the normal regular price of the scheme, or of an e-Cargobike to rent, which would seem like a no-brainer, really, wouldn't it, for people to see if the bike was going to suit their business. You know, join the scheme, participate with us, and see if this bike is going to make a difference to your business and to how you do business within the city.
Yeah, and that's
so it's a really good opportunity.
It's one of the main barriers that we identified with cargo bikes, was a lack of familiarity with them. So if people aren't sure whether a cargo bike is going to work for them, they're not going to pay full price.
Yeah,
you know, and
they're
hope for
so
the best.
expensive as well. If you want to purchase one,
it definitely helps break down that barrier.
Exactly. And you said if anybody has any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, folks. Forgot to mention that at the very beginning, but yeah, do that please. So next we've got Karina, and I'm delighted to say she's still here. So Karina, I'm very familiar with your bakery on Capel Street. I've had lots of cakes there in the past, and they've all been delicious. I don't really have a favorite, so thank you for that. And we actually saw some of your delicious cakes in the video earlier because you kindly participated. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself then and your business, please?
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. Karina Camerino from Camerino Bakery. It's a bakery that started in my home kitchen and farmers markets. And in 2014, we opened a shop on Capel Street. So the business is divided between a wholesale side of the business, where we have a production kitchen in Terenure, and we deliver cakes to independently owned cafes and restaurants around Dublin, as far north as Howth, as far south as actually Wicklow, Greystones, and everywhere in between. We have our shop on Capel Street, which is a teeny tiny bakery with a teeny tiny oven, but we bake all of our bread fresh there every day for our sandwiches. And we have a sit down cafe in Marion Square East, which opened a few years after the Capel Street shop in 2014. So we have a delivery van on the road 6 days a week that goes between our locations and also delivering to our wholesale customers. And we were very enthusiastic about participating in the E-Cargobike scheme to see how we could supplement. We still do need the delivery van on the road, but Dublin City, some of the roads that our customers are on, we're getting pedestrianized. And in fact, Capel Street itself is being pedestrianized at the end of this week, which I'm delighted about. That's more of like the city that I want to be a part of. How can we get cakes to those customers who are on pedestrianized streets? Well, E-Cargobike, you know, South William Street, we have Clement and Pico as one of our customers, and that's pedestrianized from 11 a.m. Or we have customers in Georgia Street Arcade that we deliver to Bodega there. And we do those on the E-Cargobike.
Super. So do you find then that obviously you're not allowed to cycle your E-Cargobike on a pedestrianized street, which we all are very aware of. So you just jump off the bike and walk it down to your customer, yeah?
That's absolutely right, because with the pedestrianization, it's also the loss of loading bays. So there was no convenient way to park. And actually, when you're carrying crates full of cakes, you're going a further distance, it's actually more difficult. And we're very particular about making sure that the cakes get there in their perfection. Yes.
Super. And you joined the E-Cargobike pilot scheme back at Christmas time, I think it was. Did you find that, like, what was it about? I know you've talked about the pedestrianisation of streets, and this is becoming more common. And we hope, you know, there'll be lots more of this, especially for our lovely summer that we're being promised. We'll all be out and about. And why exactly did you sign up to this scheme? Like, what about the project appealed to you?
As a business owner, I'm very much about trying things and seeing what works. I'm curious about, I mean, I believe in e-cargo bikes. I believe in making our business more eco-friendly wherever we can. So we're always on the lookout for ways to do things better. And I'm always willing to try. I think, you know, there's research, and then there's like actually seeing what our customers like, what's actually logistically possible with our team. And in fact, delivery drivers, I find quite difficult to recruit for.
Okay.
So we do have one van that's open drive. So like we share it between those of us who have a driver's license, but it's always quite difficult actually to recruit someone part-time for deliveries that has the qualifications that meet the insurance criteria. Finding someone who's willing to deliver on a bicycle, loads of people.
I was just going to say, yeah, everyone's happy. I mean, it's a little bit different piloting a cargo bike than it is to cycling a regular bike. But, you know, you felt that your staff were willing, and you know, they were willing to go for that. And had you considered the use of an e-cargo bike prior to hearing about the pilot scheme?
You know, I've seen them and admired them and never really connected, oh, maybe I could do that, until I saw the pilot scheme. And then it was like, yeah,
brilliant.
I'm like, I'm a joiner. So yeah, I'd like to try doing that.
I like that. I like that. And then, so has it had any impact on your business?
Definitely, because as I mentioned, a lot of our customers are in the city center, and as the city center is getting more and more pedestrianized, and actually there are less and less loading bays to make deliveries with the delivery van, it's getting more difficult. And so what can we do about that? We have to find another way to get our cakes in good condition to the customers. So we've tried a few different things. We've tried walking. That's a no. That's a no. We have to make sure that the cakes get there in great condition, and they can be heavy. We've tried delivery taxis as well. But the thing that worked the best as it was the e-cargo bike, because we weren't relying on a third party. We were managing it ourselves. And also we have the extra bit of branding when the e-cargo bike is not on the road delivering something and it's parked outside our shop. It's another way for people to recognize us.
Fantastic. Listen, Karina, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for you, so don't go anywhere. And next up, I'm going to have a chat with Paddy.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Hi, Paddy. How are you? So Paddy is a pharmacist in Ballsbridge. And so Paddy, you've been working for 31 years in Ballsbridge, and over those years, you've been delivering to a lot of your customers without the use of a cargo bike, just on a regular bike. So I'm really excited to hear about how you're getting on with your cargo bike. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your pharmacy, please?
Well, as I said, I started 31 years ago in Ballsbridge at a time when there were 7 places where you could lodge and receive cash, 8 if you include the bookies. And there was nowhere where you could get a takeaway coffee. There are now only 2 places you can lodge and receive cash, one of them being a bookies. And there are 15 places you can get a takeaway coffee.
That's very interesting, but what has this got to do with e-cargo bikes?
It just shows you how much the place has changed over the years. It's a phenomenal change. So I would have always delivered. My clientele, a lot of them are elderly. And you try and do as much of it as you can on a bike. I mean, we've only 6 full-time staff and 4 of us are cyclists out of 6, so we're a pretty high percentage. But the bulk of some of the stuff I would deliver, they can be equivalent to carting around large trays of Coke for supplements, and things like that, and
Mhm.
you know, colostomy bags and urine bags and all that stuff. It's bulky stuff, very hard to take it on a regular bike. So the minute I saw the E-Cargobike, I went, there's a solution to my problem. I would also deliver to a hospital in Rathfarnham every day.
Mhm.
That would have been a 35-minute car journey. It's now a 35-minute E-Cargobike journey.
Super.
Exactly the
Wonderful.
same amount of time doing my commute. And what I've done is just change my delivery schedule, and I take small amounts every day.
Mhm.
Kieran reckons it's 0.35 a cubic meter. I actually reckon it's more like 0.49. You can fairly pack the stuff into it. And some of it's weighty and some of it's bulky. But it's back down there from there in 25 minutes, 35 minutes up. So I do that every day.
Yeah, that's super. And so you've explained, like, I'm sure that you're going to tell me the positive to this question, but like, which do you prefer, sitting in your car or sitting on your bike?
Oh, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? Obviously on the bike. I mean, you know, what's different from me, probably from a lot of people participating in this, is I'm not just the delivery guy. I am the pharmacist. I have, you know, a job in a hospital that's very clinical. I'm either behind the counter, or I'm sitting down with patients, or I'm in clinical meetings. So I'm still doing my day job, but I actually have my delivery service is just an add-on. A lot of the time with my clients, I have to go on the delivery to them because a lot of the time they actually need to see me.
Yes.
So there is a kind of even a legal requirement that people actually see a pharmacist every now and again. So
and how? Yeah, and how have your customers reacted to you arriving on a bicycle?
Well, there was one particular lady when I phoned her and said, I'm dropping around your wheelchair, and she told me she'd open the basement car park. I said, no need, I'll go to the pedestrian gate. And she quite indignantly said, well, son, you're delivering my wheelchair. And I said, yeah, it's okay, I'm on my bike. And I think the poor woman had an image of me with a wheelchair strapped to my bike, pulling up to her gate. And
with a big rope.
Pop says the cargo bike, no problem.
Brilliant. That is a great story. I'm hoping she lives in an apartment block and not a mansion, since she has a basement garage.
Yes, it is an apartment.
Could be either of those. So the cargo bike has made a difference then to your deliveries on a day-to-day basis, but in fact it's given you more time on your bike because of the way that you've changed your deliveries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's an hour out of my day that would have been spent in the car that's now spent on the bike. So,
and have you come across then any barriers to anywhere that you cannot go within the city? Has there been any difficulty there for you?
Yeah, I suppose when you're kind of covering the tracks I'm covering, you kind of see sometimes the mistakes that have been made in the provision of cycle lanes, where they're kind of put in piecemeal without proper planning into them. There's a very good example on Nutgrove Road as you're heading towards the Yellow House, where the cycle lane just ends and you're straight back into car lanes, and that happens on both sides of the road. And it's actually nearly more dangerous to be in the cycle lane than actually on the road, because cars just aren't aware that your cycle lane is ending.
Yes.
I have to say, those drive me mad because they're really dangerous. The Dodder Greenway, back in 2011, as part of the flood defence projects, we had suggested that the Greenway would be built into the flood defences that were built along the Dodder. That didn't happen. And now the lower sections of the Dodder down to Ringsend, certainly from Lansdowne Bridge down to London Bridge Road, are actually too narrow to cycle a cargo bike down. So I would have a concern about the Greenway, because they've just made it too narrow. And they had an opportunity when they were doing the flood release works to actually put it in place at the time, particularly the underpass at Lansdowne Road. Just at the back of Marion College, you're going to have all those people from Facebook using those steps there, and you come across this horribly narrow little tunnel that you have to go under, and it's a danger for both cyclists and pedestrians. So there are lots of barriers, and there are lots of things that could have been done differently.
Okay, yeah, I know, and I suppose it's a great way for us to learn, because you're providing us with this information, which is wonderful. So for all of you participants, keep telling us what your issues are, because we need to know. So Paddy, my last question to you then is in relation to your other life outside of your pharmacy deliveries. I follow you on Twitter, and I've seen that you use your cargo bike for other things. Would you like to tell us about your community work and how else you've been using your cargo bike besides pharmacy?
Yeah, we established Tidy Towns now. This is our 4th year in Ballsbridge, and one of our big things is it was always summer bedding plants and watering them. We draw our water from a well. We have 2 wells that we can tap into, so we're not using tap water. So our biggest problem was we were pulling them around in a trailer, and it's up to 500 litres a day on really hot days. So it's a lot of water to be carried around the place.
That's a lot.
And yesterday we did our summer planting, the start of it, the first bit of it, and I went around last night with the E-Cargobike, was able to pull up directly beside the actual planter boxes. I had that bin with 2C sitting on there. I had that 3/4 full, and I had another tub in the back. And I got around and I did all the watering on it. So from our point of view, even from a Tidy Towns point of view, we have now squared the environmental circle where we're actually using our bike to service our Tidy Towns, which is part of our whole environmental.
Yeah, wonderful. That's super. Thank you so much for sharing those photos. They're wonderful pictures. Just goes to show you there's lots more than just business deliveries. You can use it outside of your business as well. Thanks, Paddy. I'm sure I'll have a few questions for you later. I'll come back to you then. So our next guest today is Lauren Chute. And Lauren, unfortunately, you didn't feature in the video, but as I said to you earlier, we'll get you back for the next one. So you've got an interesting story around your E-Cargobike. You're actually sharing it with another business, which I find fascinating and a great use of the cargo bike. So when you're not using it, you've got another business using it, which is wonderful. And so would you like to tell us a bit about your own D8 development, which is a fascinating social enterprise, and your own background, please?
Yes, so thanks for having me on. D8 Development is a social enterprise that works to tackle vacancy and dereliction in Inchicore, where I live with my 3-year-old. And we do that through 2 tranches of work. The first one is actual repair and lease projects on empty buildings. And the second tranche of work is we are slow streets advocates, and that's kind of looking at Inchicore in its totality and thinking about the effect that having so much fast moving traffic funneling through our village every day, what that does on our quality of life as residents, but also on the viability of our businesses and the viability of a business like Flower Pop, which is one of our tenants that we're sharing with. So Flower Pop is a florist. And it's a tricky one to do by bike because flowers are delicate and they're also surprisingly heavy. You know, I delivered 3 bouquets to Crumlin this morning, and I was like, it was great that I could get the bike like all the way up to that front entrance and you know, actually hand them to the doctors that were fortunately receiving them. And I was thinking like, God, it would just be impossible to do this in a car right now because, you know, it's really difficult to park around Crumlin Children's Hospital. I could be taking a space that someone would desperately need. And yeah, it was great with the bike. I can just go straight up to the door and, you know, it pops up because it has that tricycle stand. You don't really need to worry about having somewhere to lock it. You can lock it to itself almost and deliver the flowers. And, you know, they always arrive perfectly. That was one thing that I was really nervous about when we first got the bike a couple of weeks ago. I remember I had my first day's delivery, I had to go all the way out to Dunleary, and every single bump on that bike, I was like, oh my God, you know, the carnations will be crushed or the water is going to slosh everywhere. And like, yeah, by the time I got to Dunleary and popped open the lid and they were all there, you know, absolutely perfect. They looked exactly like they did going into the box. It was such a relief.
And now that's
really,
great.
Really well. We're really, really loving it.
And you'll be more confident now that you're actually a good pilot on an E-Cargobike. You know, once you got your first journey over, you'll be more confident. Yeah. So that's really good. Fair play to you. And a nice place to go to Dunleary, isn't it, on your maiden voyage?
Yeah, you really notice when you cross that boundary line between Dublin City Council and Dunleary. You know, all of a sudden you're like, oh, the coastal mobility route, and oh, we've got just like, you know, you can really see the level of infrastructure and there's just so many cycle paths now, and they're really good width for the cargo bike, which is, you know, significantly wider than the bike that I'd be used to cycling.
So could you tell us then, how did you learn about the pilot project and why did you decide to sign up?
Well, I first saw it when it was like a lot of active travel advocates. I spend like way too much time on Twitter. So I originally saw it being piloted in Dundee. I was like, oh, I'd love to try that if it came to DCC. But then in my business as D8 development, we don't do deliveries. I could see how it would be useful for, all of the trips that I do to hardware shops and all the trips that I do to sites. But the pilot program was really being sold as like, this is for deliveries. So I didn't really think that my business would be the kind of business that you were targeting. And then, when Heather came in as a DA development tenant and she was doing deliveries in her car or, paying a delivery driver, I was like, oh, wait a second, like there's this great program I think we should try. And, at €100 a month, I mean, that's, less than 10 deliveries that we'd be paying for. It, covers the cost of it.
Yeah,
so
super.
we signed up for it. And also we're right next to Small Changes. So Patter had been cycling his bike around and I've been going, oh, that's actually really nice. And he was also like me using a traditional cargo bike before he.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you're not new to cargo bikes.
I saw him like every day, like struggling up that hill in the acoustic bike, shall we say. And then when he got the E-Cargobike, he sold his cargo bike like a week later. He was like, oh, I'm never going back. And so that was when I was like, okay, this is something we have to try.
Brilliant. And that was, it's great actually. And we took a few pictures of you outside your business and we could see Small Changes right beside you in their cargo bike too. So it's fantastic that you're both in it together and, hopefully we'll get to some E-Cargobike parking soon enough. And you'll be fighting over that, no doubt. So you mentioned as well that it's easy to park. So you're finding that is it different to your other cargo bike? I know obviously it's got more power, but when it comes to parking, is it the same? Is it easier? And
well, it would be roughly the same as parking my other cargo bike, because it was a tricycle, the other one that I was using. But I do find it easier than parking my regular bicycle. I cycled, like my 3-year-old around, and for that, like I'll need a Sheffield stand to lock it to. But because like the E-Cargobike has the immobilizer on it, you can, switch that on really quickly and leave it without having something to lock it to for a few minutes.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
And also, like you can pull it in places that I hadn't thought about before. Like I was buying paint a couple of weeks ago and was able to like bring it like right into the warehouse and like go up to the counter, take the paint off the counter and like put it directly
straight in. Yeah.
Which they thought was hilarious. But that's like a really great thing as well, an unexpected benefit of having the E-Cargobike. It's just people's reactions, and it's kind of like walking around with a really cute dog. Like people are stopping and like, oh, what's that? And oh, it's a great icebreaker. And like, I'd be picking up flowers from wholesalers in Smithfield, and then, people would be like coming out and gawking at the bike. And but also
I hope you tell them about our scheme and how they might be able to, get a cargo bike with us.
Oh yeah, I'm always like, oh, you guys need to sign up straight away. I should be getting a signing bonus, I think.
And would you have any advice then for either the business or anybody interested in the scheme?
Something that I think would be great would be just to have kind of an open day where like all of us kind of get together with the different bikes and also the different solutions that you have for storing stuff within the bike. I use boxing hand wraps and a rattan basket to like weave bouquets into the basket. There's actually nothing within the rally bike that we have. There's no kind of attachment mechanism within it. So like learning like creative ways that people have adapted the bike for the delivery. I imagine Camerino are doing all kinds of interesting things with the
that's an interesting point
around. I've got chicken wire and packaging and all kinds of it's like a game of Tetris, the inside of our cargo
Sounds
bike.
fascinating. I like your idea of gathering everyone together and having an open day to introduce people to the cargo bikes. And just out of curiosity, Pedalpalooza is on this Sunday in Fairview Park, which is a little festival that we're hosting in Dublin City. And it's at 12 o'clock Sunday, May 22nd. Just to plug that while we're here. And there will be cargo bikes there. Bleeper will be there and Moby will be there also. And they will have some cargo bikes for trial if anybody wants to come along and try some out. Thanks so much, Lauren. That was wonderful to hear about your business and how you're using your e-Cargobike. And Aisling, is there any questions there from the audience that you would like to throw out to any of our participants?
Yeah, sure. So this one is from Sheila. It's a very practical question, partly for you, Jennifer, and partly for you, Kieran. So Sheila would like to know, can she get a sense of what kind of admin resources were needed first from the local authority and second from Bleeper to get the scheme up and running? Jennifer first.
Okay, so I suppose the resources that we needed were the funding is from the NTA. So we needed to be sure that the NTA were happy to fund our project. And once that was secure, then we, Bleeper and ourselves, would talk about it. We were talking about what we needed to do. I suppose resource-wise, it would need one person at first, just to get it up and running and to agree the terms and conditions, and also the terms and conditions between Bleeper and the participants as well, just to ensure that all of our objectives were aligned, and ethics and GDPR also very important. Kieran, have you anything to add to that?
Nothing major. I suppose we've been doing these pilot schemes with the cargo bikes for over a year now, so we've streamlined a lot of our processes, and we've kind of figured out, the best way of onboarding someone and the steps to take and what to do, and we've learned a lot of what not to do as well. So from our side of things, the process is relatively straightforward at this point. It's nothing beyond the kind of admin that you'd be doing for any other customer who's taken on a long-term hire. Like we have a subscription service where we hire e-bikes and e-cargo bikes separate to the scheme as well. So it's relatively similar to that. There's some additional admin in the compiling of the data around the scheme. So we have GPS trackers in all of the cargo bikes, and that's used to compile usage data and mileage data and that kind of thing for this pilot scheme. So we are, generating quantitative data at the end of the pilot, so we know exactly how well used the bikes are and where they go and where they don't go, and whether that can identify places where there might be barriers in terms of traffic or lack of cycling infrastructure or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that, Kieran. Another question from Joan, and you touched on it just there, Kieran. These are another two questions for yourself. So are there plans for cargo bike rental for individual customers? And then secondly, are there plans for expanding Bleeper's area of operation?
So we do hire cargo bikes on a weekly kind of subscription basis through our website. So Joan is possibly asking about a kind of a shared public cargo bike system similar to our public Bleeper bikes. It's something we've looked at, and it's probably a case of watch this space. I mean, the cargo bike scheme with the businesses has used a lot of our resources over the last 12 months. So it's something that we're going to take a look at in terms of expanding Bleeper's operating zone. That's something we're also looking at, and it's probably a case of watch this space. Something in the works.
Thanks very much, Kieran. So this question, I might put it to each of our three businesses, starting with yourself, Karina. I suppose as somebody who's participated in the pilot, from your perspective, what kind of changes do you think we need to see a better uptake of e-cargo bikes for deliveries in Dublin?
What changes do we need to see a bigger uptake? I mean, I think that, I guess clarifying what the application process is, some businesses might be put off of, I think you hear businesses being put off applying for grants, schemes, because they're afraid of the administrative burden. So if they asked me about it, I would tell them it was actually very straightforward, very simple, and the turnaround time was very quick. If more businesses knew that, I think that that would put down one of the barriers from interested businesses in participating.
That's great advice. We should have a little, it takes 40 seconds at the bottom of our form.
Yeah.
Thanks. And the same to you, Paddy. Anything that you would like to see changes in the city to make e-Cargobikes a more realistic alternative for people?
No, I think, as Corinne said, it's such an easy process. Once I've actually done the online application, and one of the biggest things for me that actually made it was how easy the whole graphics thing was. As Kieran said, the bike arrives with your graphics already in place, so you don't actually end up with a bare box bicycle sitting outside your door for weeks as you try and get around to actually organizing the graphics for it. So the fact that everything was done made it so much easier, and I think, it's a matter of just letting people know how easy it is.
Thanks, Paddy. And to yourself, Lauren, any changes you'd like to see?
They have to make it harder to drive. They have to make it harder and slower and less direct. And because, I think the bike is really the only mode of transport that can compete with the car. But I think we're just at a point now where, like the delivery I did this morning was a really good example of, it was 2 kilometers by bike and it's 9 minutes, or it would have been 3.5 kilometers by car and 9 minutes as well. So making routes around the city less direct for people in cars. So they're saying, oh, well, if it'll be shorter if I take the bike, it'll be easier, it'll be quicker. And there's no way to make the bike compete with the car unless we disincentivize driving.
Thanks for that, Lauren. And a final question. This one is for yourself, Kieran. This is just a practical question on what kind of training was involved in getting staff members to use the e-Cargobikes.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. Essentially, what we've done is in the handover of the Cargobike, which is an in-person handover, we give a run through of the operating of the bike and just make sure that the person is comfortable with everything before we leave it to them. But it's one of the things that we've identified through this pilot scheme is that a lack of familiarity with the Cargobike and how to cycle the Cargobike is something that has been a barrier, maybe not so much for the owner operator of the Cargobike, but when it comes to putting a staff member on the Cargobike who's an employee, that then just raises questions about whether they have adequate training. Are they familiar with a Cargobike? Are they comfortable on the Cargobike? So it's something that we've been working on in parallel, is to try and develop some kind of a training standard or a training program for Cargobikes, which might just be in addition to, let's say, the Cycle Right standard training that you can currently get.
Thanks, Kieran. I'll hand back to you, Jennifer. That's it for the Q&A.
Super, thanks, Aisling. And just to say, guys, that in the chat, there's some interesting links that people have put up, including you, Kieran. You've put up how to apply for an e-Cargobike with ourselves, DCC and Bleeper. That's in there. And also there's a link to Pedalpalooza, which is this Sunday at midday in Fairview Park. And there's also a link to another webinar called Cycle Friendly Employer Scheme, which is on this Wednesday at 1 p.m. So maybe anyone interested could join that. And finally, I'd just like to say thank you so much to the lovely Karina and Paddy and Lauren. Thank you so much for coming along and being quizzed by us. You're really good to give us your time to tell us all your stories and how you're using your Cargobikes and a bit about yourselves and your business. And we very much appreciate it. And also big thank you to my colleagues, Kieran and Aisling. Thank you so much for organising this and pulling it all together. Thank you, folks.
In 2021, Dublin City Council launched the E-Cargobikes for Businesses pilot, encouraging greener, more sustainable deliveries.
Working with our micromobility partner Bleeper, over 20 Dublin businesses signed up to test an e-Cargobike at a discounted rate for a 6-month trial.
Charlie's is a family restaurant business here in the heart of the city. We signed up to the pilot because we wanted to try out an e-Cargobike, but we didn't know a huge amount about them and we weren't sure if it was right for us. Our experience has been really positive. You can spin around the city without worrying about the usual traffic. It's great.
Camerino Bakery delivers freshly baked goods all over the city every morning. Taking part in this pilot project was great for us. We were able to test out the bike and see if it suited our needs without a major financial commitment. It's been great. It's really efficient, and it's nice to know you're doing your bit for the environment too.
Burns Life Pharmacy here in Ballsbridge. I've been delivering in this area for the past 30 years, but unfortunately, given the bulk of some of the items I deliver, I often have to do it in the car. With my new E-Cargobike, I can do multiple deliveries in this area with large bulk and volumes. It's faster, more efficient, much better for the environment, and it's much more enjoyable for me. I would highly recommend an E-Cargobike as an ideal mode of transport for any business looking to deliver in this area.
At Philip Lee, we are committed to reducing our carbon footprint. And this project was a different and kind of creative way for us to show the real benefits of cycling. We've used the E-Cargobike to bring folders and files right across the city to the forecourts. And the large capacity at the front has been really great for us. And by cutting down on car and taxi journeys, we now have a healthier, a greener and a faster way sometimes of making those same journeys.
The use of E-Cargobikes for city deliveries is just one of the many ways we can help build a greener, more sustainable Dublin.
A huge thank you to everyone who has taken part in this pilot.